Red Bull announcing their engine plan for 2022 and beyond. NASCAR qualifies not back till May, how one team is negatively impacted. And World Motorsport League starting off next Monday. We'll preview it right here on Grid Tonight. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Grid Tonight, your weekly motorsports news program. Joe Sandiego and Kobe Lambert from the Podium Finish. Be sure to comment down in the chat room below, and we'd love to share your questions and opinions on the air. Grid World Motorsport League is less than a week away from the third season starting next Monday. We have a report on the NASCAR qualifying procedures this year and how one team has been negatively impacted, and more news, but we'll start with some of the developments from Monday.
Monday was President's Day in the United States, but that didn't stop the news from flowing in the international motorsport community. Red Bull agreed to take on Honda's engine program starting next year and rename it to Red Bull Powertrain. At this time, there are no plans to rebrand the engines as they did in 2016 through 2018 with Tag Heuer name instead of Renault. So, Joe, here's my question to start off things tonight. Do you see this as a short-term move or a long-term solution?
It's a little bit of both. It's a short-term move, as in they don't want to go with Renault. I highly doubt Mercedes or Ferrari will give them engines. So definitely this is a short-term move in that aspect. The long-term aspect, of course, is once the new regulations comes in, they inherit an engine program from Honda, the engineer, the technical staff with that program, and then they could go forward with it. So this is a little bit of both. I think they're really making the best situation, the best decision, considering what they were facing.
Yeah, Red Bull's definitely making the best of the situation. And this is a really tough spot to be in, especially after Honda announced they were leaving the sport. And we all know Red Bull doesn't have the greatest relationship in the world with Renault, and Ferrari and Mercedes definitely would not be willing to supply a top rival anytime soon. So I feel like that for Red Bull, this was really their only choice, that they just had to take over the program for themselves and do the best they can. And who knows, when the 2025 engine regulations come into play, Red Bull could be open to the idea of building their own engines. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens there. And people have been wondering when another supplier will join the party. Could we see a new engine manufacturer enter Formula One in 2025?
That seems to be a little bit more doubtful now, because all the teams, all the engine suppliers, essentially you have Mercedes. Of course, they got Mercedes, they got Williams, now McLaren, Ferrari, Alfa Romeo, and Haas F1. So really it's just Renault, and they're right there with the Renault team. The big thing, of course, with Red Bull, AlphaTauri, and the Red Bull team themselves, if they power those, I really don't see an incentive for another engine manufacturer unless a team like McLaren wanted to reach out to a new engine supplier. Maybe Williams, with their new management group, reach out to another engine supplier, or like how we saw BMW buy a big share of Sauber to have BMW Sauber. Unless somebody from the outside looks into investing in a team, I really don't see any other way another manufacturer will join F1.
It's 2021 now, and 2025 is a long time away, so a lot can happen between now and then. It's going to be interesting watching the automobile industry market and see what happens there. I know at the very end of our program we'll touch a little bit on the future of the automobile industry. Yeah, but right now I don't really see a new engine manufacturer entering Formula One. But anything can happen within the next few years, and we might see a new engine manufacturer shockingly enter Formula One. Autosport's Luke Smith reported on a performance clause in Max Verstappen's deal with Red Bull. If Red Bull isn't competitive, he has the option to leave, similar to Sebastian Vettel's situation in 2014. Rumors are swirling. If Sir Lewis Hamilton doesn't return to Mercedes, Max Verstappen is the favorite to replace him in the Silver Arrow, not George Russell, as a lot of people think. Has the 2021 season become more complicated for Mercedes, Max Verstappen, Red Bull, and even for George Russell?
Yes, it has gotten really complicated. I mean, always every year in Formula One, every season it's complicated. Before this, I would say Red Bull, and before the engine mess, a lot of people were looking at George Russell, maybe Pierre Gasly, Esteban Ocon in Mercedes seats. But now that you got this complicated twist where Red Bull, they're going to have their own engine program. If for some reason that doesn't look promising, or they really struggle this year, look at that rumor of Max Verstappen, Mercedes to really intensify. You can only imagine that every party is really going to be trying to make their case of you want to have Max Verstappen and Mercedes. He's the best deal for you. You're going to have Red Bull saying we need to keep Max Verstappen, we need to be competitive. It just adds a lot more pressure this upcoming season and really gonna make it where for the race fans especially, this is gonna be a story that'll be developing throughout each race result, and we'll probably won't have an answer until maybe the second half of the season.
With all of these storylines swirling, I think silly season is going to be really crazy, and we'll probably be in for a lot of shockers along the way. Formula One is scheduled to start the 2021 season with the Bahrain Grand Prix on Sunday, March 28, with Sir Lewis Hamilton is going to be going for championship number 8. And next, looking at a story of a potential program in sports cars, Marshall Pruitt from Racer.com reported that Andretti Autosport is evaluating a potential LMDh program. Team owner Michael Andretti told Pruitt that his team is having conversations with a couple of manufacturers. So far, Acura, Audi, and Porsche have committed to LMDh. Andretti had a previous relationship with Acura when they fielded a prototype program with them in the American Le Mans Series. Many manufacturers are looking at the LMDh formula, so Andretti should have several options to choose from before the arrival of the new regulations in 2023.
Going to be very interesting to see how everything works out with the new regulations and the new program. Very exciting time for sports car. Another exciting time coming up for the Grid World Motorsport League. This Monday, the Grid World Motorsport League will release its first leaderboard of the 2021 year. The Asian Le Mans Series, new to the Grid WML scoring this year, comes to a close already at Abu Dhabi this weekend with 2 4-hour races. The most successful drivers from that series will be heavily featured in the early scoring. Of course, along with the top NASCAR drivers from all 3 Trent series, they'll be heavily scored until the rest of the season rolls along. We'll see more and more drivers vie for positions in the leaderboard. Austin Cindric won the weekend Performance of the Weekend award after winning the Xfinity Series race at Daytona and a strong showing in the Daytona 500. Next week, Matt White will be dropping into the show to give us a WML update. Another new series, of course, is the W Series. The W Series is in the Grid World Motorsport League. Last year, of course, the W Series took the year off due to the pandemic, but they're back this year and they're in the WML. Kobe, for the 4th season of Grid WML, now that we have the W Series, how significant is it to have the W Series in the Grid World Motorsport League?
Oh, Joe, it's really exciting to have the W Series included in the Great World Motorsport League. As all of our viewers know, we take great pride in covering all of the women racing to win. Be sure to watch our program on Thursdays with Joe and Daniel from Racers, the girls behind the helmet, highlighting all of the women in motorsports. And in a way, this is just bringing more attention to all of the women racing around the world and in the W Series. And before the W Series, women who participated in the European Le Mans Series, NASCAR, and other series were included in this ranking. With the W Series, that means we'll have women with victories in the World Motorsport League, and they'll have higher positions in the standings, and it definitely adds a new element to the Grid World Motorsport League. So really excited to see how this turns out in 2021.
Very exciting, and you bring up a good point. As women score victories in the W Series, unless a female driver was to get a win in the European Le Mans Series, it's going to be really hard because you have one female racer and a few male racers. The numbers are against them. W Series, it's going to be a female first place, second place, podium. They're going to be higher up in the Grid World Motorsport League, bring more positive attention to all the women racing in motorsports and the W Series. It's a win for all the parties. Now, of course, last season, the WML came down to the final event. Lewis Hamilton lost out by 0.02 point to the close finish of Phil Hansen, who just beat him out for the Grid World Motorsport League Championship. Kobe, which driver do you think is going to most likely have the more dominant season?
Oh, I definitely think that Sir Lewis Hamilton is going to be up there, and possibly Scott Dixon as well. All of the the front runners, IndyCar, Formula One, and I'm not really sure who's going to be most dominant in NASCAR. Maybe it'll be Chase Elliott. Maybe it'll be Kevin Harvick. But I know one person who's probably not going to be up there is Scott McLaughlin as he's coming to grips in the IndyCar series. He won't have all of the experience that he had in the Australia supercars, where Scott McLaughlin can be very, very competitive. So I definitely think that even in both the Grid World Motorsport League and the Grid Ranking, which comes later on in the year, we're going to see Scott McLaughlin drop. But if I had to pick someone right now, I think I'd go with Lewis Hamilton. And for Phil Hansen, I think he could do it again, but he really needs to have a historic season, basically like he had last season, winning all of those races in the European Le Mans Series and the World Endurance Championship. And with all of those races and all of those wins in that dual LMP2 program, Hansen was able to rack up a lot of points.
A lot of points. He has to have another strong season. That's going to be really hard. Lewis Hamilton, I know a lot of us anticipate him to go out there, win the 8th championship. Of course, this 2021 season, still a lot of surprises. Anything can happen, but I feel safe. Lewis Hamilton is an early contender for the Grid World Motorsport League World Championship. Now, be sure to follow the Grid World Motorsport League at grid_WML on Twitter all season long. And of course, you can find more information on our website, gridranking.com. Now, yesterday, Bob Jenkins, longtime racing announcer, shared that he has brain cancer. He will be undergoing radiation and chemotherapy treatment. With this treatment, he'll be stepping back from his duties at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Bob did share he survived colon cancer in 1983, and as he said, with God's help and his beloved race fans, he will make it. He's going to make it. We are sending our best wishes to Bob Jenkins and his family. Many, including myself, grew up watching him on ESPN Speed World. Longtime host of the NASCAR Cup Series races up until the season finale at Atlanta Motor Speedway in 2000. He stayed with ABC ESPN for IndyCar and the Indianapolis 500 at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Since the pandemic, NASCAR has eliminated maiden weekend activities to reduce the chances of the virus spreading at NASCAR events. This includes limiting media, fans, and drivers' access to the garage. One main feature gone has been practice and qualifying. Since the return of the NASCAR Cup Series in May, there has been no qualifying. NASCAR used the prior finishing order and inverted the top 20, so 20th place had the pole, the winner was 20th. After several months, NASCAR switched to a format where finishing positions from the previous race weighed 50%, ranking in team order point standings 35%, fastest lap from the previous race was 15%. This was used for the remainder of the 2020 season. For 2021, NASCAR is using the following: 25% drivers finishing position from the previous race, another 25% car owners finishing position in the prior race, 35% team owner point ranking, and 15% fastest lap of the prior race. This format is more equitable to teams as starting lineup from the weekend's Cup Series race demonstrates. Chase Elliott is on the pole. Outside of him, Michael McDowell, mainly based on his win of the Daytona 500. Had it been a regular qualifying, McDowell may likely still have a higher starting position with his experience in road course racing, but the chances of him being in the front row are still very slim. The same is true for the Xfinity Series. However, there's a significant side effect that has cost one team in particular. With a full field of cars starting the Daytona Beef It's West Virginia 300, any team that didn't make the race is now on the outside looking in. This includes Jordan Anderson's team, Jordan Anderson Racing. Unless there's a drastic change in the Xfinity teams, Jordan is out of racing until late May. That is because there is no qualifying until May. The next opportunity for Jordan. Last year, Jordan raced in the Truck Series and is one of the few owner-drivers single car operations in NASCAR. This year, he declared eligibility to race in the Xfinity Championship and just a few weeks ago decided not to shut down his Truck Series program. Now, Jordan's going to miss February, March, April, and most of May. Jordan, of course, is a fan favorite by many for his passion and hard-working attitude. Many are wondering if NASCAR needs to bring back qualifying sooner. It was even mentioned that Fox wanted to see practice and qualifying return. Worth noting, out of the 6 series in the grid ranking that does qualifying, only NASCAR Cup Series has proceeded on with no qualifying or practice. Kobe, does NASCAR need to bring back qualifying?
I mean, Joe, look at all of the other series all around the world. Literally everybody does qualifying but NASCAR. And I'm just wondering what's the excuse here. Yes, I know it's to limit contact and all of that because of the pandemic. Yes, I know we're going to save all of the money that's been lost with the pandemic, but I do think that it's in everyone's best interest for qualifying to return. We don't need practice at all. I think we're definitely fine with having no practice, but at least bring back qualifying because for Jordan Anderson, this is absolutely destroys his 2021 season. Late last year, he decided he was going to run in the Xfinity Series. Had purchased some equipment from Richard Childress Racing, and Jordan was going to do this program right with sponsorship from Bommarito, and and also he was actually going to shut down his Truck Series program, but he decided to keep that going too and run several drivers throughout the season. And yet Jordan Anderson's still going to be running several drivers in his Truck Series program, but now for himself as an owner driver, he won't be able to compete full time for a championship or the Rookie of the Year award in the NASCAR Xfinity Series. So this is definitely a sad moment for Jordan Anderson racing, and it definitely shows the other side of the equation and why qualifying needs to return because as everyone knows, it takes a lot of money to run these programs, and each week Jordan Anderson sits on the sideline. His program is going to hurt, and they're going to lose so much money. And I don't know if this is going to happen. Obviously, can't predict the future, but if worse comes to worse, it would be sad for a team to go out of business because qualifying didn't happen.
Yeah, I agree. I do believe qualifying should come back. I know last year NASCAR was the first sport to come back, so I will give them the benefit of the doubt that okay, we're the first one back. We got to do it right. No qualifying, no practice. We have these policies. NASCAR has a much larger field than everybody else. Formula One, 20 vehicles. NASCAR, 40. All these factors, I gave the benefit of the doubt. But especially with this situation, you have a team that said, hey, we're doing everything right, growing the Truck Series program, growing to enter the Xfinity Series. And because of weather, rain, prevented them from entering that race, now they're sidelined to mid-May. NASCAR really needs to evaluate and say, okay, we need to do something, especially the Xfinity Series, the Truck Series, where you do have teams that want to come up. And we're talking about Jordan Anderson. He's been reliably good season after season, being an owner, driver, being engaged with the fans. We're not talking about a starting park team here. We're not talking about a team that's just going to be riding around the back. We're talking about a team that's capable of a surprise win, of top 20 finishes, top 10 finishes even. I do believe NASCAR needs to look at it. And for Jordan Anderson, hopefully some changes will allow that opportunity for him to enter a race sooner. If NASCAR was to adjust and allow qualifying, is now the best time to do it? Or do you think this might paint NASCAR in a bad, inconsistent manner?
Yeah, and I know fans don't really like it when NASCAR makes changes in the middle of a season, but I think that it would be a good time to make this change now. And even if they're not going to do qualifying for everyone, I know like if it was in the Cup Series, they have the top 36 charter teams. If they had all the open teams turn one qualifying lap and that was it, doesn't have to be televised, nothing like that, just a few hours before the race, I would be okay with that. Or for the Xfinity Series, let's say if it was the top 25 in owners points, like they didn't qualify, then everybody 26th and down, they'd run one lap and running one lap on their tires for qualified isn't going to hurt the team at all. So I think that would be something I would be open to. If nothing else, just let the cars who are not locked in go out there and do one qualifying lap each week. So teams aren't being forced to sit on the sidelines until May, because that's such a shame for Jordan Anderson and his program.
It is such a shame just sitting there, just watching opportunity after opportunity slip by. He's definitely done everything right, especially for the team, the fans. If NASCAR was to make this move, I don't see this as something where fans will be critical that, oh, this is a mid-season move. They're being inconsistent. This is for the good of your sport. This is the good of your teams. If the teams are not healthy, your sport's not healthy. So I do believe this is a very important time, and NASCAR should easily make this change, allow Jordan Anderson and other opportunities a chance to race, especially weather. We're not talking about a poor performance. We're not talking about bad sponsor that failed. We're talking about weather preventing him from racing. Now, one of the big things, of course, John DeGeese from Sports Car 365 says Corvette racing could run half of the 2021 FIA World Endurance Championship schedule, potentially entering the season opener at 8 hours of Portimao on April 4th, then the 6 hours of Spa on May 1st, and returning to Le Mans 24 hours on June 12th to the 13th after missing last year's race. Of course, the 24 hours Le Mans, the great race, the French Endurance Classic. Changes to the IMSA schedule has allowed Corvette Racing this opportunity to fill the gaps by running the C8R and WEC competitions if they choose. After the Sebring 12 hours on March 20th, GTLM doesn't race again until the 6 hours of Watkins Glen on June 27th. The Corvette WEC program would help out the GTE Pro Class car count with struggles like the IMSA GTLM. Aston Martin Racing dropped their factory team. Only 2 Porsches and 2 AF Course Ferraris are left.
Joe Saward from Auto Week says Formula One CEO Stefano Domenicali is looking at expanding Formula One's presence in the United States. Domenicali said that Formula One needs to take a strategic approach when deciding which markets in the world to target for future races. I got a little tongue-tied there. He mentioned America, China, and countries in the Far East as places for growth, but referred to the American market as a work in progress. Why does it seem like Formula One is putting in more effort to succeed in America more than the other markets?
One of the big reasons, of course, in the United States, huge television market, especially when it comes to race fans. We know we got a lot of race fans here. NASCAR, IndyCar, drag racing, potential to expose new audience that love motorsports into Formula One, introduce them to the pinnacle of motorsports. Easily, the big thing, of course, when it comes to Formula One, the star power of Lewis Hamilton, Ferrari. And we encourage all our fans, viewers in the chat room, be sure to share with us questions, comments, including when was the first time you saw a Formula One race?
While Formula One is definitely focused on specific markets, there are some other markets that really haven't been explored. I know there's a great racetrack down in South Africa that hosts a 9-hour endurance race, a part of the Intercontinental GT Challenge, the Kia Lame Grand Prix circuit. Imagine a Formula One Grand Prix taking place in the motherland. Joe, what are your thoughts on Formula One racing in South Africa?
I support that move. I know it's been a long time. I believe it was 1993 or 1992 the last time they raced there. So it's long overdue, I feel. South Africa, I mean, they've hosted the World Cup. They have a good sports culture there. I believe it has a good potential. The hard part that could be a challenge is the travel logistics, of course, going all the way to South Africa. But I do see this as being a popular move if they were to go that route with race fans, especially considering some of the other tracks that we have out there where we have less engaged fans, less excitement for some of certain tracks. I think there'll be a big excitement for the return of the South African Grand Prix.
Yeah, I would be really excited to see a race in South Africa because then Formula One can say that we literally race everywhere, all around the world, and I'm sure it'd be a lot of people would really be excited to see racing in Africa with Formula One, the pinnacle of motorsport. Going back to America, Formula One already has the United States Grand Prix at Circuit of the Americas. There have been plans to host a street race in Miami, Florida, which is still a work in progress. Domenicali also mentioned Las Vegas. There have been rumors in the past of a street race in Sin City. And an interesting thing, he said, Indianapolis is in the equation. Last year, FIA President Jean Todt visited the Indianapolis Motor Speedway with Roger Penske. Many speculated that it signaled the beginning of Formula One's return to the Brickyard or potentially hosting a WC race. Formula One last raced at Indianapolis in 2007 when Lewis Hamilton won with McLaren. The Indy Grand Prix layout has changed quite a bit since the 2007 United States Grand Prix, including changes to turn 5 and 6 with a quick left and right-hander powering down the backstretch and a braking zone at turn 12 and 13 before going at full speed down the Indy front stretch across the Yard of Bricks. This is different than the old Formula One layout where the cars would exit the infield and head on to Speedway Turn 1 in the opposite direction, traveling down the front stretch, reaching high speeds into the heavy braking zone of the Turn 1 road course, allowing us all to admire the raw speed of Formula One cars. What are the possibilities that Formula One returns to Indy, and if they do confirm a race there, should they consider bringing back the final corner of the old layout?
When it comes to Formula One in Indianapolis, I think that is a very mixed reaction from the motorsports community. There'll be some, they'll love to see that again. They'll love to see Formula One at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. I know Roger Penske, Formula One, they'll love to say Formula One at Indianapolis Motor Speedway put the 2005 race behind it. That layout, though, the old layout, that's something where we don't have a tire battle. So it could be something where for Pirelli, we won't have any issues. We could see that. Safety, though, we know Ralph Schumacher hit that outside wall hard. Yes, it is a safer barrier. I just feel maybe using the current IndyCar route where we have the chicane in there might be the safer bet. But I think the big question will be, will the fans really give Indianapolis Motor Speedway and Formula One a second chance?
Yeah, I definitely love to see the race return, and actually started watching Formula One long after the last race at Indianapolis for the United States Grand Prix, and it's something that I personally like to see Formula One cars at the Brickyard. And I'm actually going to go the opposite of you, Joe. While I do agree, it'll probably be a lot safer to continue with the current final corners in the Indy Grand Prix layout. But I really would like to see them cut that out for the Formula One race if they do come back and do the old layout where they're going in reverse through Speedway Turn One. I think it would be really crazy for the Formula One cars to build up that amount of speed and going down the front stretch at the Brickyard into the heavy braking zone in Turn One. I think that would be very exciting, and the fans would absolutely love it. And in a statement by IMS, they said there continues to be mutual interest on both sides to bring Formula One back to the Brickyard. A source told Adam Stern from the Sports Business Journal that a potential Formula One race at Indy could happen as soon as next year. And once again, the NASCAR and NFL worlds collided. Heading into the Daytona Road Course Xfinity race, Ryan Vargas did not have a sponsor for his number 6 JD Motorsports Chevrolet. He posted on Twitter looking for potential sponsorship opportunities. Meanwhile, NFL running back for the New Orleans Saints, Alvin Kamara, stated his intentions of investing further in NASCAR. Cassie Fambro tagged Kamara in Vargas' Twitter post. Kamara responded and got in contact with Vargas about potential sponsorship opportunities. And today, it was announced that Kamara and his chain of juice bars in Louisiana will sponsor the number 6 Chevy this weekend. The Big Squeezy will be on board with Kamara's support. Such a clever name for a juice bar, especially with the New Orleans nickname being the Big Easy. The Big Squeezy currently has 9 locations in Louisiana with the goal of opening more juice bars in the future. Kamara is the second NFL player recently to make this kind of investment, with Buffalo Bills running back Antonio Williams supporting Joe Graf Jr.'s career. This is a big win for NASCAR's exposure to a new audience, getting an NFL star to sponsor a car who's clearly caught the NASCAR bug. Vargas also brought TikTok sponsorship to NASCAR last year, so the young kid from California definitely knows how to hit a home run. Now it's time to end our program with some quick takes.
Jet Nolan will run a part-time in the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series. The 17-year-old will make his Truck Series debut on Friday at the Daytona Road Course. He'll be with Nice Motorsports. He was scheduled to drive for Nice Motorsports last season, but decided to put those plans on hold. Nolan will also run at Richmond, Circuits of America, Bristol, Martinsville, and the season finale at Phoenix.
For the first time since his horrific accident at Spa-Francorchamps in 2019, Juan Manuel Carrera returned to the driver's seat. This happened on February 15th, 533 days after being involved in the horrific accident that claimed the life of Formula 2 driver Antoine Hubert. Carrera suffered significant leg injuries and faced months and months of rehab in hopes of resuming his open-wheel racing career on the road to F1, and Juan Manuel Carrera will return to action later this year in FIA Formula 3.
Connor Daly will compete in the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series race at Las Vegas. He'll drive the number 44 Chevrolet Silverado from Nice Motorsport. Fatheads Eyewear and Elliott's Custom Trailers and Carts will sponsor Daly's entry. Last fall, Daly made his Truck Series debut with Nice Motorsports at Las Vegas, finishing 18th. Daly is racing for Ed Carpenter Racing in the NTT IndyCar Series this year, running the road and street courses, plus a third car at the Indianapolis 500.
Alpine released an update on Fernando Alonso's condition. On February 15th, Fernando Alonso was released from the hospital following a procedure to fix his broken jaw. After getting struck by a vehicle while riding his bike in Switzerland, Alonso will continue his recovery at home, then resume training to prepare for the start of the 2021 Formula One season.
John Hunter Nemechek will participate in select Xfinity Series races. He will be with Sam Hunt Racing and start his first event at Dover. The number 26 Toyota Supra has an alliance with TRD and Joe Gibb Racing. This is the same car that Santino Ferrucci will drive, making his Xfinity Series debut at Homestead, Miami. John Hunter Nemechek is running full-time in the Camping World Truck Series with Kyle Busch Motorsports.
Another manufacturer is planning to go all electric. First General Motors, then Jaguar, and now Ford commits to electric vehicles moving forward into the future. Ford says its entire European line will be zero emissions by mid-2026. Commercial vehicles will be ready for the switch in 2024. Petrol and diesel will be phased out altogether in passenger cars by 2030. Joe, I think we pretty much know where this is going and how it'll impact the motorsports world. A lot of people don't want to hear me say this, but the future is electric. Years from now, every major racing series on the planet, including NASCAR, yes, I said that, including NASCAR, will be forced to go electric or risk becoming obsolete. I don't see how all of these series survive for another 10, 20, 30 years the way things are, especially with the growing cost to go electric, and manufacturers are now following.
Yeah, the manufacturers, they see the writing on the wall, and I think it won't be long till we start seeing series after series adopt the new technology. Tomorrow, we have a brand new episode of the Women Racing to Win. We'll discuss the 3 women that race in the ARCA Series, as well as the 2 women that race in the Camping World Truck Series race at Daytona, plus Hamda Al-Kabasi earning another victory in her Formula 4 race, and will continue to preview the 2021 W Series and more. We encourage everyone to join our Patreon. Have your name on our program. Link in the video description. As always, thank you, Colin, for your tremendous support, our first Patreon supporter. And if you have a dog, be sure to spoil your pet with Pawbless. 10% of your purchase goes to helping a dog in need. It's a genuine cause, and the Grid Network viewers will receive a good discount. Click on the link description in the video description below. Then Saturday, we're on the air with Grid Life pre-race, previewing NASCAR action at the Daytona Road Course. Then on Sunday, about 90 minutes after the Cup Series race, we'll have Grid Life wrap-up. Definitely done do for our program today. For Kobe Lambert at the podium finish, I'm Joe Samaniego. Thank you for watching. Have a fantastic evening, and see you next time. Joe Samaniego here. Want to invite you to go check out Pawbless. Pawbless is a dog clothing and accessory company based in Austria. 10% of each of your purchases goes to helping dogs in need, whether it's homeless, sick, or ill dogs. This is one of the reasons why we support it. Kiska here is a rescue dog from rural Alaska and our Grid office dog. We care about our furry buddies, and we know you do as well. Definitely check out pawbless.com. There's a link on the video description, and by clicking on that link, you get a 10% discount on your purchase as well.